What if you could build a business that gives you the life of freedom you deserve? What if you could find the secrets to marketing, leadership, customer service, and other aspects of business that help you exceed your goals? What if you could walk away from your business for 30 days and it never misses a beat? That's what this podcast is for, to help business leaders like you find freedom from the day-to-day grind and start spending your time doing the things you love. I'm Levi McClendon, and my co-host is Josh Taylor, and this is the Cheers to Freedom podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Cheers to Freedom podcast. I am Josh Taylor, and I'm here with my host, Levi McClendon, and also Jeremy Renken. How are you guys?
Doing really well, man. Thanks.
Good.
Yeah, doing great. It's good to be with you guys.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, I want to introduce you in just a second, but we're here in a new year, 2022, and we've got some great content that's coming. Yes. Well, I think people kind of eased into this when I saw something earlier that said, maybe a new year isn't such a great idea. Maybe we can get a pre-owned certified new year first.
Right.
But I think 2022 is going to be awesome. We're going to jump into a subject here, and we brought Jeremy in. Jeremy is the Chief Operating Officer for OptSpot, and he is the man when it comes to short codes and a lot of the back end stuff of what we do. And Levi, I'll let you sort of introduce Jeremy, because you guys have known each other and been in business together for a long time. And then we'll jump into what we're talking about today, because we're kind of trying to settle some myths today, especially when it comes to short codes. But Levi, why don't you give us the proper introduction to Jeremy as we jump into this?
Yeah, Jeremy's been my partner now for going on 8. Is it 8? Sorry, Jeremy, 8 years, right? In February?
It is, yeah, coming up on 8 years.
Gosh, crazy. So he's like Josh said, our COO. And so he's really in the trenches, right? So he's got to be in the know with our short codes, long codes, 800 numbers, just everything that's happening around our business. A lot of people don't realize there's a lot behind the scenes that happen with aggregators and connectors and things that we're doing. And so like Josh, you just said, there is we want to reduce the fear or minimize the fear here of people that have been hearing about short codes and they're going away, and support for short codes are going away and things like that. So I wanted to bring Jeremy in here as a guest and partner here. And a lot of y'all know who he is already, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to really get him on again on the podcast and answer some of these questions. So I'll be leading several of the questions, because I also want to know, because I'm not quite in the loop anymore as I used to be. And so Jeremy's really the expert in this space. So Jeremy Renken, welcome. And here
Great
we go.
To be with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to start this off. A lot of people don't even know probably what a short code is, right? Like first of all, so people are talking about short codes, long codes, 10 DLCs, blah, blah, blah. So let's give a little overview, if you will. What is a short code?
Absolutely. So a short code is any code or any phone number that is less than 10 digits. They're usually 5 or 6 is kind of the preferred. You can technically go a little bit further than that, but a short code is going to have, like our main primary short code is 30400. So 30400. So that's a 5-digit code. We also have 411365, which is a 6-digit code. And so that is what a short code is in reference to. Now, when you get into long codes, that's when you're talking about a 10-digit phone number. So just like my number or your guys' numbers, whatever that is, that those 10 digits make up a long code. And then obviously a toll-free number is the same thing. It's 10 digits, but it's starting with a toll-free, first 3 area code. So 866, 877, 888, that kind of scenario.
So what's the difference between a short code and a shared short code? And that seems to be the question out there right now, is or kind of the, what's up in the air is carriers like AT&T, Verizon, blah, 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 right? All these carriers, they're not going to support a shared short code. So what does that mean?
Exactly. And there's a big reason for that. And so before I explain that, I'm going to jump back to the reason for what's happening. What's happening with a shared short code is shared short code means that there's multiple people or multiple entities, different businesses, different entities that are using that same short code to send their text messages out to. And what's happening is within that, and the reason why the carriers are wanting to shut down shared short codes is because you're dealing with people who are sending all different messages. Some are legal, some aren't legal. And so they want to be able to control all that stuff and be able to push out all the ones that are illegal and keep the positive things coming through.
Speaking of illegal, not to get into politics, but it seems that during the election and even now in different times during an election, my phone gets hammered with messages, typically from a regular phone number, right? They'll grab the area code of your area and whatnot and send to you. And so do you think that that has a lot to do with or something to do with obviously these carriers, even with the people that are misusing those numbers? Is that part of the reason?
Absolutely. It's illegal to import numbers, and that's what's happening in those situations. And so there's an acronym. Now it's expanded, so the acronym doesn't work, but I'll give you the main course of it. So there's an acronym within the space called SHAFT, and it stands for Sex, Hate, Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobacco. And so initially that was the first 5 things that they really cared about when short code texting came out. Now, 2 of those are off limits. Sex and hate, completely off limits. You can't touch them when it comes to texting or anything like that. Alcohol, firearms, and tobacco, those are all age restricted. And so in order to be able to send to those legally, we have to send out a text saying, hey, how old are you, to get an age verification to make sure that we're not doing anything illegal, soliciting minors or anything like that. Now, since then, there's been some additions. That's why the acronym breaks. So you've got things where people are importing for political things. Cannabis is completely off limits. You can't send that stuff. And you're seeing those kinds of things come out all the time now. I mean, honestly, anymore, I just about every day get a text from somebody that I shouldn't get a text from because I never opted in to receive that. And so what the carriers are doing is, in order to protect against that, they're saying we are not going to allow shared short codes anymore. That's the distinction. And the problem is we're actually not functioning under a shared short code. So I don't want to steal your next question or anything like that. But the reality is we function on a short code that's owned by OptSpot, and all the short codes that we run in are all owned by specific individuals. So it's not something that's going to be pushed out immediately the way that everybody's saying it is.
Let me ask you this real quick, just as somebody who's from the outside, and some of our listeners may be thinking, what does this have to do with me, or what is it? How do we use short codes? Like in our space, in the marketing space, and in the industries that we work in, what are we using short codes for?
So we have actually 4 different short codes. We have 55678, 59925, 30400, and 411365. 2 of those codes are exclusively within the car wash industry. And so we've already been communicating with lawyers and the carriers and everything else like that to know that we're going to be able to continue to use those in the car wash space, because we are focused on one specific target, and the messaging is going to stay consistent around that. Our 55678 and 59925 are not shared either, so we can continue to use those codes.
They're not, let me back up. They're not registered as a shared short code, but correct. We do share them with different verticals, because when we first started, I'll just clarify, of course, we had restaurants, retail, clothing, you name it, and car washes. And so those were, Jeremy and I have been talking about that we probably need to start shifting into the 3400 and the 411, because those are exclusively in that car wash vertical.
Exactly. We're moving those to the exclusivity. Now, again, because they're not registered as shared short codes, they're not going away.
It'd still be okay.
Anything that's registered. So this is something too that you got to keep in mind, Josh. This has been stuff that we've been tracking for a couple years now or longer. And every time they say, okay, 2021 is going to be the year. Well, 2021 is come and gone. And here we sit in 2022. And now the same conversation is coming up. Will it happen in 2022? I don't know. The reality is carriers, that's something that we're taking their lead, but I know that our short codes are safe.
So for our listeners that are listening that maybe don't use short codes yet, or, are somewhat familiar with it, the short code is basically the number that your customers would text a keyword to get a response. But usually in our case, it's a coupon or some sort of a deal. So it's text this number, and that number is the short code.
And you're joining a list. But here's the other thing, so that people aren't confused. Are we technically, we use that same 30400, say for, let's just say 100 car washes. Okay. But what differentiates each car wash and each call to action is what we call a keyword. Okay. So let's just, for example, use the word wash. Let's say that you put a billboard out or an A-frame out on your wash and you said text wash to 30400. That wash is registered to a specific customer of ours. And so that customer owns, let's say, or leases that keyword wash. Okay. So you have text wash. And if somebody texts in, that stays to 30400. That number stays within that one account. Okay. Now, if another customer of ours also using 30400, so technically, yes, they're using 30400, but it's still going, one vertical in the car wash space. Let's say that the keyword is clean, and they say, hey, we've registered the keyword clean to the code 30400. So when somebody texts clean, that is not cross referencing, so to speak. Like, it's not, nobody from the wash account is going to get those who text into the clean account. And so that's a really easy way for our customers to put a call to action in everything they do, from on-site, we've talked about this, online, off-site, and different keywords for every different thing they're doing, but they track them back, and it's helping to build lists very, very easily, because when people text in, Josh, like you said, they go directly into a database in which we're now legally able to re-engage with those customers that opt in.
Awesome.
That makes sense?
Yeah. So Jeremy, there's some myths that are going around, or people are having a lot of questions about these, and even a lot of our customers. And so you're kind of the expert in this space. So tell us, what's happening and how are we handling it?
Yeah, so if you're connecting right now with a company like Twilio, that's a common one that's out there. They are using shared short codes, because basically what they do is they put a short code out, and they allow anybody who wants to connect to it and use, like Levi said, a specific keyword. And so what's happening is all of those carriers, all of those, technically they're aggregators, if you want to use the correct terminology, all of those guys are forcing all of their customers to go to a 10-digit long code or a 10-digit toll-free number. And so they're communicating the truth out for what their circumstances are. The truth, as Levi said, for us is that we have those short codes registered specifically to us, and because we're staying in the same vertical, we've already gotten the carrier's permission to continue to text, and we're also controlling messaging and different things like that, which is allowing us to continue to do that. So because people are hearing these things, or maybe it's a blog post, or maybe it's something from a point of sale within the space, they're saying, oh my gosh, these are all going away. They're technically true for those specific carriers that they're tying to, but it isn't true for OptSpot customers, and that's where a lot of miscommunication is happening right now.
Okay. So we're not using any shared short code. So nothing is really, in essence, changing for our space and what we're trying to do because of the way that we've been able to set it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we'd like to start moving. And for our customers that are listening, part of our goal for 2022 by the end of the year is I really would like to move people off of 55678 and 59925, just because, like Jeremy said earlier, we've registered 3400 and 411, and we'll probably register another short code this year, just to move in, because we've specifically specialized in the car wash space. I think we'd really like to move in there. But as of right now, don't fear, your code's not going away, your messaging isn't stopping. And I wanted to touch on one quick point too. When Jeremy mentioned Twilio, a lot of people know who Twilio is now. They're a publicly traded company, they're a huge company, and they basically provide this platform for companies to do, mainly when you're going to do some programming, to be able to deliver message content, alerts, even like when you go to opt into a wait list, maybe at a restaurant and stuff. A lot of those companies are using Twilio as kind of a back end if you have developers to do so. They don't have a dashboard that has hierarchy where you can log in and then you have users underneath and you can do different permission-based stuff. That's not what they're about. They're really about providing this back end super good, just like Stripe is for credit card processing. These guys are for text messaging. They're amazing at what they do. We even use them for a few things, but we are a tier one connected. We're a tier one company where we're connected to all the carriers. So we are like a Stripe, or I'm sorry, like a Twilio, but we have the ability to have the dashboard where customers log in. We provide a really easy way for them to see the people that have opted in and text out and build their list and things. So there is a difference. And so again, like Jeremy said, he's exactly right. These, they're not lying at all. They're not saying, this is happening. But for the way we have it set up, we feel very confident that there's not any changes other than maybe moving some people to a short code. And if they want the long code, we can talk about that as well. That's something we can discuss, and the pluses and minuses. But anyway.
Awesome. Well, I think we should touch on those if that's all right. I mean, not to interject, but I think we should touch on the options that we could run through as far as with customers and what they could do.
Well, yeah. Well, like, what would be the case for somebody who would need a long code?
So right now, Canada, Rogers is a major carrier in Canada, and we have to text through long codes. Usually we use toll-free numbers. So this is an interesting thing. One of the biggest issues, and this is the reason that everything's being drug out and why I probably won't even see all of this happen in 2022 in reality, the carriers are having to develop. So short code texting has a thing called throughput, which is how many messages go through per second. And we're talking, you're running at like fractions of a second to push out that, millions of texts in a very short order. Long code texting is not developed that way. And so they are still working on bringing that all over. And so we actually had one of our aggregators ran a test on 1,000 numbers. They were sending a message through just a normal 10-digit long code, and the throughput was horrible. You're talking minutes to get it out, whereas we'd be doing seconds within a short code. And so at this point, the carriers don't even have 10-digit long code texting completely ironed out. Now they do have faster throughput on the toll-free numbers. And so this is where Levi and I we've talked. We have some customers who have their own Vanity short codes. So what a Vanity short code is that is a registered number to you or to your company. And once you get to a certain scale, some of our larger customers fit in that kind of that parameter where that makes sense to them. And it's a lease. They have to pay a lease every month. They pay a setup fee, and they have all that other stuff. But basically what happens is then that short code becomes registered to them. The beautiful thing about that is then you have every keyword available. So Levi mentioned before where wash was for one customer and clean was for another. Both are texting into the same short code, but they're going into different buckets based off of the customer that we're working with.
So if you have your own short code, you can use any keyword you want.
Unlimited keywords.
But okay.
Exactly.
And Josh, that's like a 10-digit. You were saying, why would somebody want one? Well, let's say that they can't afford, as Jeremy was alluding to, it's not cheap. It is, just so you know, a Vanity code and this isn't our fee, this is through the U.S. Short Code Administration. To lease a Vanity, that's a code you'd get to choose, which there's not a lot of good ones available anyway out there. It is $3,000. It's $1,000 a month. You pay it every quarter. So you pay $3,000 just to own it. That doesn't get service to it or anything else. Then it's another $250 a month just to kind of host it. So again, those customers that want to pay that and they want to have unlimited keywords, awesome. And we're actually pushing for that. So some of our bigger customers, when they have 10, 15, 20, 50 locations, it makes a lot of sense to have your own short code so that you can own all those keywords and there's no cross promoting as far as the keywords and the short codes. If you wanted a random code, you can also select a random code. And so you basically say, this is what I want, 5 or 6 digits. And you get just assigned, here's your code. And that's $1,500 a quarter. So it's half the price, but you can get your random code. And again, that is just a lease. You don't own it. And when you stop paying, it's no longer yours. Those people that don't want to pay that, Josh, that say, hey, I want my own code and I want to have as many keywords as I want, you can do, which is the 10-digit long code, the 10DLC, which is the long code or an 800 number. That's very inexpensive per month. You don't pay, it's $5 a month. I mean, it's nothing. but the cost per text are going to be higher. So, the short code right now, we get such volume with it and that we get really good pricing. So if our customers wanted that 10-digit number, and here's the thing, Josh, some of our, I see retailers, I think it's a great idea. If you have an 800 number people can call, and you also want people to be able to text to it for support and questions and whatever, that's great. And the guys, whoever's listening to this right now, if you have an 800 number and you want to offer texting to that, we can provision that. Those are things you can do, and you literally can do two-way texting and utilize that number. People can call it, they can text it, and whatever. And you're seeing that throughout the space, especially right now with so much being online. If you notice, again, whether you're shopping for clothes or jewelry or whatever, you're able to do a lot of texting, and that's really what's happening through that 10-digit. We don't feel like it's great for the space. I mean, when you have a 5 or 6 digit code, it's much more easy to text. It's short, it's fast, it's easy, it looks good on marketing material. So, 99% of our customers would rather stay with a 5 or 6 digit code. So
and they have that as an option.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an incredibly effective way to market. We've seen it. Obviously, we've seen it work in the space because it's what we do, and we've seen a lot of success with our customers with it. Obviously, there's some bad eggs that have taken advantage of it, misused it, and so they're doing these different laws. But what we can say to those that are listening to it is that if it's done the right way, short codes are not going anywhere. At least in the US for a while. And so we recommend you use it as, ride that wave, because it really is an incredibly effective tool. We highly recommend you use it. Texting still has a 97% open rate, which is excellent. And we've seen a lot of success with it. So we definitely encourage you to check it out if you're not already. And those of you that are using it, whether you're an OptSpot customer or somebody else, just make sure that it's being done right. If you're an OptSpot customer, it is, and whoever else you're using, just make sure that they're not using those shared short codes, and you don't have anything to worry about. Is that basically the gist of it?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And hey, if you're listening to this and you want to know more about OptSpot or what does or how a short code and keyword work, you can text OptSpot to 411-365. So you start a new text to 411-365. That's information, 365 days a year. See that there?
Oh, nice.
And in the body of the text, you're going to type in OptSpot. That's OPT, Oscar Paul Tom, and the word spot, SPOT. So text OptSpot to 411-365, and you can check it out.
Sounds like you've made that pitch before. Well,
once or twice.
Jeremy, Levi, we appreciate it. Jeremy, thank you so much for explaining that to us. We know that there's a lot of questions around that right now, and we really wanted to deal with that at the beginning of the year, as a lot of our listeners are making some business decisions and marketing decisions. Hopefully that, settled some things in your mind. Maybe you feel like you need to go research whoever you're using, but hopefully it did answer some questions for you guys. And thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time.